Hello, everyone. Thanks so much for taking some time out today for joining us. We're just going to start in about 1 or 2 minutes, just to let people arrive and make sure we don't leave people behind, and then we'll do introductions as well and walk you through how we're going to spend our time. Okay. Great. Okay, we're going to start. I think let's kick off. I'm sure people will come in as we go. Thank you again for coming. Great to see you. Well, this is a wonderful cracking start. Yeah, this is very exciting for us. This is probably one of our biggest feature launches so far this year. We like to ship things in count, as I'm sure many of you know who are already users. And today we're going to do this as a bit of a show and tell. To start off with, I want to just do some housekeeping. We'll probably keep this to about 20-25 minutes of content. I can't promise that exactly, but that's exactly what we're trying to do, not fill the full hour, and we want to leave time for questions. If you have questions, either you can put them into the chat in the usual bottom right corner, but there's also, if that doesn't work for you, if you click to the activities button, you'll see a Q&A option, which is one of the things that Google Meet allows, which means you can ask questions in the Q&A, and that will get flagged to us as well. We'll answer as we go. If they're relevant, if you don't mind, we might leave things to the end as well. But we'd love to hear what's going on. And yeah, that's the way to interact with us during the session. To start off with, if you don't know who I am, I'm Ollie. I'm CEO, one of the co-founders of Count. You may know who I am. If you don't know who I am, you won't know who my colleague here is. This is also Ollie on Pike, CTO, my co-founder. So today it's rare to get Ollie out onto a Google Meet screen, but it's good to see him. Thanks, Ollie, for coming.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks. Good to be out.
And yes, it is as confusing as you imagine to have two Ollies as co-founders of Count, but we make it work. Lots of similarities, lots of differences. But we will crack on. Let's go through the agenda and just get moving. So the plan-wise, agenda-wise, is well, we've done introductions. You heard enough from us. We're going to set the scene. So firstly, I think I joked a few weeks ago, right, the blog post about Count AI, that we're possibly the last SaaS product in the world to have AI added. And I thought I'd just set the scene for why and just talk you through a bit about our thinking about AI, how we're seeing it fitting in. We hope this is useful context, but it'll take a few minutes. And then it's the demo time. So then Ollie's going to walk us through some examples of how we're using Count in AI and why we're getting excited, show you how it works, get you ready to start using it yourselves, hopefully. We then talk through a bit of the logistics. So how can you get your hands on this? How we're going to run AI, because people obviously have lots of questions about it. Understandably, we'll talk you through how you can engage with it in the way that makes sense for you. We'll leave time for Q&A, and then we will close. Hope that makes sense. Anything else you want to cover, you can dump into the Q&A or in the message chat feed, and I'll try and add it in. But that's hopefully going to cover most of the bases for us all. Okay, let's continue. Let's start by looking at sort of AI and setting the scene. And to do that, I wanted to start off by just showing this chart, as obviously going to start with data. This is the Google search interest, which is a kind of relative score of how frequently AI is searched for. You can see here it's gone up by almost sort of 5 or 6 times since when OpenAI launched ChatGPT in November 2022. So you can see that explosion there of interest. So it is now a very topical thing. A number of people I speak to in data leaders, etc., are saying that they are constantly being barraged by their CEO to understand how data fits into their world. It's a thing you probably can't ignore now. And it's hyped for a reason. Max hype cycle, but there's lots of opportunity around AI, which we're excited by. To give you a relative score, we move on. You can see where data sits in relative. So now, where data used to be the darling child of tech, now AI is apparently just creeping up above it into some more interest. But don't worry, to make you feel a bit more that you're in the right industry, here's how data compares to Taylor Swift. So data is still better than Taylor Swift, which is hard to believe, I know. So this is the kind of context we're sitting in. And so data and AI, I think, is the real sweet spot, and I hope you feel that. We've been really excited by what we think AI could bring to Count. And just to set the scene again, just think about this. You've probably seen AI in every single product that you've been using already. So just a bit of product thinking here. It's clear that people are just getting to grips with AI and how it fits. And I think if I was to step back and describe the different paradigms of how we're seeing AI emerge, there's sort of 4 ways we're seeing AI entering people's workflows. The first one on the left here is features, just people adding in AI as like a button click, a kind of a wizard. That could be, smart formatting, smart data cleanup, maybe in sort of spreadsheets. That could be, just simply doing a kind of a one-step click of a process flow or filling out a form. And that's sort of feature 1. Then the second version of that is then might slightly more involved is sort of the AI co-pilot, where AI is making suggestions as you're working, doing smart autocomplete. That's a very common way we've seen that. And actually that use case has been around for way before ChatGPT and LLMs, but it's now cooking on gas. And then there's the 2 other ones then are sort of injections of using AI to really replace the human rather than augment the human and speed the human up. It's they're more about taking using AI like a human as a replacement for a human. So there's the kind of sort of the chatbot, the agent version, where you're asking it more complex sort of knowledge worker tasks, and the AI tries to solve that. And then obviously on the right hand side, you then have the black box AI, which is doing things that you knowing it and it's just telling you what to do. Where you might set a general artificial intelligence or all towards the end. As you go from left to right, you're getting less about the human engagement and working with the AI and less about the human being involved and the AI taking on more of the workload. The question I think is none of these 4 are fully mature in the market right now. And the question really is that certain products are adopting certain ones of these paradigms. What is clear to us, at least, is that I think all 4 of these types of AI have a place in the workflow for certain use cases at certain times. And what is interesting to us is often the way that a product is picking which of these paradigms they use for AI really depends on the UI they already have. So the interesting thing I want to just make maybe interesting to you to think about this, and the way we've thought about it is that really the UI of the software dictates how the AI works. Let me explain that again. The UI, what the UI is able to enable, what of a software product, be that a dashboarding tool, an IDE, a chat interface, that really scopes down the way the amount of value that the AI can bring. So this is you may that makes sense. The idea that an AI and a chatbot interface cannot show you a lot of information in one go, so it's limited in that way. An AI working in an IDE, like the top left corner here, can't show you any visualizations here or show you anything more than just a text prompt. So UI really matters in the AI world, and the flexibility of the UI really matters. Now, I won't pretend that we saw this coming, but one of the things that Ollie and I did see when we were working with big data tools before we started Count was how AI was already hugely limiting the UI was already hugely limiting the workflow of data. That the UIs that we were using to building dashboards, building queries, building visuals limited the workflow and slowed it down. So in that way, we've already built Count with the canvas in mind to give that flexibility. And this is what makes us so excited about AI in Count, is that with AI, flexibility wins. And in this regard, the canvas is one of the most flexible interfaces for using data. We already know, as many of our customers here will know, that flexibility allows you to do a huge amount of your work in one place, allows you to iterate and collaborate faster and gain trust and deal with complexity. And that same benefits of a flexible UI allows the AI, that Count AI, to be also very, very powerful, as we'll show you soon. So I just want to share this with you because I think as you're looking at AI, maybe your own products or your own software, the theory that we've been having that we believe in is that flexibility makes AI win and maximizes AI's value. And that is also a really big part of what AI UI is also what's really limiting data workflows and why the canvas is also a really great partner here. So this is just to give you a sense of why we're excited and a bit of the product theory really about how we've been thinking about AI and how AI can really help. So just to make this more tangible, if you know Count, if you're a user of Count, this is not new information, but if you're new to us at all, you may be helpful to hear that the whole idea of Count is to give you one collaborative environment in this canvas to let you do the full analytical workflow in one place, going from scoping out your work, thinking through problems with stakeholders as a data team, doing your data modeling, dealing with the complexity of the business logic in a two-dimensional space, but then switching to things like Python or more advanced analytics to help you get to answers and do sort of statistical modeling. Then you have visualization, and then obviously if you've seen some of our recent webinars about metric trees, using the flexibility of the canvas to present numbers in a clearer, more actionable way, and all in this kind of collaborative environment. So Count already is, we believe, the most powerful data tool in the world, insofar as it's so flexible, it's fully collaborative, that we see our customers speeding up their workflows up to 3 times or more. And most importantly, it just makes the whole workflow more transparent and gives greater clarity in terms of the operating model of the businesses, because you can lay things out more clearly, or just you get more trust and engagement with the businesses you're working. So this is the core of what the canvas brings already. And when it comes to how and Count AI fits in, the power of the AI, as you can see here, is that it can work across all of these stages, making each of them far more productive, but crucially that you're working across the different paradigms as well, just as the canvas allows to make the whole workflow make the whole workflow faster. So we just believe that Count AI is going to enable what is already great about the canvas to just be even more productive, even faster, even more of a support for your thinking and problem solving, and allow more users to do more with the product as well. So I hope that's an interesting introduction to where we are and what we're thinking about it, and it's very high level, but let's make this now a bit more tangible, and I'll hand over to Ollie, who can start walking through how AI fits into Count.
Great, thank you. So just come out here. Here's the presentation we've been looking at. Down here, we've got a couple of CSVs. Now, the first thing to say is that this is in beta. So at this stage, AI can generate misleading, inaccurate things, and it needs to be used carefully. But we wanted to share it with you because we think it's already in a place where it can give you significant productivity improvements. Just to give you a sense of that, I've got 2 CSVs here, one of orders from a fictional store and one of returned order IDs that can be joined to this. You can connect Count AI to any data source. I'm just doing it off these for simplicity. And you may notice, if you're familiar with Count, there's a new button down here. This is one of the places you can access AI. If you click on that, then you can see that AI allows you to generate things in the canvas. So let's start with a relatively straightforward example. Let's just do a bit of data cleaning. So, for example, let's take the orders cell, remove the column row ID, and create a new column called margin, defined as profit over sales. Okay. So the AI has gone through. We look here that you can see that it's got it's removed the row ID column, creates a new column called margin, and that's a simple example. We can go further with this. Once you've created things, you can then edit SQL cells with AI as well. Let's do that. Select it and go to the AI icon here, select that and click edit. And we can do more here however we want. So let's say we want to filter for, I don't know, region is East, orders since 2022.
So Ollie, you've clicked on the cell there, so it's like contextualize this command to the cell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's kind of 2 states of this. There's one which is you're adding new things to Canvas, and another where you're editing what's already in the Canvas. So in this state, I'm editing. So that's just a simple example of creating a SQL cell and then editing it. Now, LLMs, we're using like off-the-shelf models for this. They have been trained on a vast quantity of SQLs, I'm sure you're aware. So they are off the shelf. They perform incredibly well at manipulating SQL. The context we give it is, and we will go to this a little bit later, but we give it, it's aware of all the cells in your canvas, and if appropriate, if you're attached to a database, it will also know the tables there. It will know all of the tables or cell names and all the column names and types, but it doesn't know what is in the data itself.
So it doesn't know what's in this result cell here, like all this stuff
It doesn't know that
in the output. Yeah,
exactly. So that's a really simple example. I mean, it can do a huge amount more than that, as I'm sure you'll find out when you get to play with it. It can also generate other things. So that's a SQL cell. It can generate visuals. So I don't know, let's say, for example, we want total sales by customer as a bar chart. Again, I'm going to say I want it from orders because there's now 2 cells with similar columns. So if you want it from a specific one, you need to give it some context. If you don't give it a context, it will make a guess. But if you want to be sure that's going to give you a certain thing, you need to be as specific as possible. There you go. There's total sales by customer. And again, for visuals, you can do the same thing we just did for SQL. You can select it, come to edit it, and then you can manipulate visuals just as you can SQL. Now, this is, we think, an enormous time saver, both for existing users, but also for beginner users, that basically you can do pretty much everything you can do in the sidebar here without ever having to touch the sidebar. So for example, flip the visual, sort by total sales, sending, make it a pastel green.
And that is definitely faster. You couldn't do that kind of stuff that quick, click, drag and drop, could you?
No, exactly. So yeah, I think the way we see this is that if you're already an intermediate or advanced user, this is going to speed you up. And if you're a beginner user, it means you can get going without having to worry about what's in the UI and how to find things. You can just tell it what you want to see. You get a sense of the kind of things you can do down here as well. It's pretty much everything you can do through the UI. There's a few small exceptions like this is always going to be slightly easier by just dragging it than getting an AI to manipulate it for you, but pretty much everything else. Cool. So that's kind of a simple introduction to some of the functionality. So that's creating a SQL cell, creating a visual, and then editing the 2 of them. But you can actually do more than just manipulate single cells in Count. You can create as many things as you want. So let's go for creating create 2-line charts. I want one which is average profit over sales by month. Another which is total sales by month in state of New York. And let's again tell it take these from the orders.
So is there any sort of syntactic that you've got things like brackets and you've got things like exclamation marks? That's just to make sure you're just as explicit as possible, I'm assuming, rather than it being any sort of
exactly syntactic. Yeah, there's no sort of defined way you have to write things. I think once you get to play with it, you'll get a feel for what it picks up and what it doesn't. I'm sure in this demo there'll be things that get slightly wrong, slightly later on. But yeah, the general rule is the more specific you can be, the more likely it is it's going to get you what you want. You could do something like, show me top customers from my orders table. It will probably give you something sensible back. It's unlikely to be that interesting. Cool. So that's, generating single SQL, single visual, and then, as I say, multiple things, all from a text prompt. Cool. So that's this button here. You can also access AI through other means. One of them is you can create objects now by using things that already exist in the canvas. And we think this is going to be really helpful if you perform scoping in Count. You can scope out the analysis you want to do, select it, and then generate the actual analysis from that scoping. Let me give you a flavor of how that works. I'll just move this stuff out of the way first. For this, I'm going to take a slightly more complex example, which will be like a multi-stage analysis, which you can do through a text prompt. It should work okay. But often it's quite good to use the power of the canvas and lay it out spatially. So let's do that with sticky notes. What I want to look for is I want to look for our kind of top customers, and I want to compare that against everybody else and see how their profitability differs. I don't want, the reason the returns table is here, I don't want to look at any orders that have been returned. I want to exclude those. I'm only interested in things since 2022. So there's quite a few things going on there. Now, in order to break that down, we could do something like this. So table showing unreturned orders made in 2022 or later, called as sell unreturned orders. You can see here I'm being explicit about, I want you to make a sell, I want you to call it this. You don't have to do that. It's useful if you want things to then later refer back to it. So that's the table unreturned orders. Then we want sales by month and customer. Let's call this sales per month. And let's create another one here, which is then our top 3 customers in each month.
You're trying to spell it badly intentionally to see if it picks it up.
No, it's just how I spell. My fingers are quicker than my brain. All this top customers. Okay. And then finally, we want to bring this together to show just the orders from these top customers. So show the orders from the top 3 customers, well, I'll rephrase it slightly, from customers, again, being specific is the way to go, from customers who have ever been a top 3 customer. Let's do that. Okay, now you could select all these and generate from there. We found through our use, it helps slightly to paint out what you think the DAG is going to look like. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can in each of these say, I want to select from, this cell, I want to select from this cell, etc., etc. You can be explicit. I'll just call this result. Another way we found that seems to work quite well is you can just draw the DAG lines yourself to explain to it where you think the dependencies should be. The AI has been told to look out for these. So you can see this is kind of the right thing. So we're looking for it to create a bunch of 4 cells that are related in this way. Okay. I'm just going to select from cell, again, being explicit, that's useful. Okay, now in order to generate from the canvas, all you need to do is drag, select all those, click on the AI button, and click to generate.
Suspense is killing me here.
Okay, so let's have a look at this.
That's awesome.
We've got 4 cells called what we want, so that's unreturned orders, sales per month, top customers, result. You can go and look at the SQL in any of these to check it's what you want. This is obviously the final cell. You could look at the complete compiled SQL of everything put together. They're doing a rank, window function, rank less than equals 3. That's good. Another way to check analysis really quickly.
So before we move on, it was not from watching write post-it notes, but that must have taken 15 minutes, 10 minutes, I reckon, if someone's good at SQL to write all of that, and you did it in a few minutes. That's the kind of the power of this, right? That's the thing which is.
Yeah, it just removes a lot of the boilerplate. A lot of the stuff. I mean, I'm a software engineer, so I've been using Copilot in VS Code for a while now. And I think that helps in a similar-ish way to this, which is it does all the stuff that isn't complex. It just saves you typing. And I think in this case, I still here have this. This is the difficult bit, right? What do I actually want to see? Let me break it up. This is the bit that actually is, you need to be a good analyst to set this stuff up well. Actually converting that into SQL is, an AI can do that really quite well, which is exactly why this is, I think, could be so powerful. But as you say, can be quite time consuming.
And also then checking it is all auditable for you, just like it would be if you were working with 2 humans working through analysis together.
Exactly. And then, you can edit this just obviously by changing the SQL if you want, or you can use AI to then go and edit the SQL as you wish, or you can regenerate it. I mean, you can really do whatever you want. And what I was going to say is that, you've got the SQL audit trail, which is useful. Another kind of way to check analysis and see what's going on is to use AI again. So go to AI here and click explain. And you can see it's here explaining the analysis, and it gives you a summary of what's going on to get to the cell, and then it gives you each cell beneath that cell, so all the upstream cells that go to make up the analysis that leads to that cell there. You can then click on any one of these to go and find it. Now, that works for any cell in any canvas. It's not limited to AI-generated cells. And particularly when you've got large, complex canvases, we think it's going to be a really useful way to go and understand what's going on, particularly if cells are in different places in the canvas, and in cases where you're looking at some logic that you haven't written yourself. Again, it's just slightly quicker than reading SQL.
And I guess the whole idea of the canvas has been to enable two analysts, two people in the data team to work together really efficiently, or to help an analyst work with someone else in the business, solve a problem, talking through methodology. And you can already hope you can see how much we think this AI just speeds up both of those two ways of working. Either an individual analyst can go away and just build quicker, build multiple steps at once, and still have that lineage, that spatial layout to help understand what's going on and deal with the complexity. You also then have the ability for someone to come in to someone else's code and understand what's happened by the click of a button. So just the auditability of someone else's piece of work is done for you by the AI, doing all that heavy lifting of reading through all the code for you. But you can also see, and obviously as it will develop more and more, you'll gain more confidence in this, allow a user who is somewhat capable and somewhat data literate to understand the data that's already there, using explain, but also build their own work without all the perfect SQL syntax. And I think that's where things get really, really exciting. Doesn't remove the data team, but it does allow the data teams like efficiency to just rocket.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Okay, so that's generating from post-it notes in the canvas. That's generating multiple SQL cells. You can also generate other things. One of the examples is visuals. And the way to do this, which is quite fun, is literally just draw the visual you want to see. So here we go. Let's draw a line chart.
A squiggle.
Let's go for something like total sales. And let's go for month. And then here again, we can say we want this done by from cell result. Tell it where to get it from. Select all of that and generate that.
So I've seen loads of our customers doing this kind of wireframing of visuals already, building out metric trees just like this. And now you can basically build it if it's sufficiently well defined in one go.
Yeah. And this extends just like this. You can jot down as many different visuals as you want, and you can mix up SQL cells, visuals. Do whatever you want. You even connect control cells to this, so you can literally just sketch out a live dashboard, and everything should be connected and work as you expect. Now that's that. The final thing I wanted to show goes back to what I said in the beginning, which is the AI doesn't know anything about actually what's in your database. It just knows the metadata about the database. It doesn't actually have access to database results. Let's get rid of those. Now, but because the AI can generate lots of different things from the canvas very quickly, it is sometimes useful to be able to give the AI a little bit more information, such that it can, for example, give you a version of a chart for different values in a column. Unfortunately, by default, it doesn't have access to any of that information. So a kind of workaround we've been enjoying using is to do something like this. So I'll just do this in SQL quickly. So I'm going to take all the distinct regions from there, of which there are 4, and zoom in and screenshot it. I'm going to come over here. And I'm going to explain from cell result, create 4 bar charts, one for each region in the list to the right, showing total sales by subcategory in a different pastel color. Okay. And then for this, you can just select that and again, generate from there.
And when you set that, it's sending a picture of that set of objects to the AI to read.
That's it. So you see they've got 4 regions, so central, east, south, and then west. They're pretty pastely.
That's awesome. That is very pastely.
That's that. Now it's just, so that's, I mean, a very quick overview. It's difficult to give. There's a lot you could do with this. It's difficult to kind of go into each individual example that's kind of possible. And I'm sure you'll think of things that we haven't come across, but just to give you a slightly more flavor about the kinds of things that we've been doing. Here we go. Let's get back to the report. You can create dashboards where you kind of put things in different places. I'm finished actually. You can, again, it's useful to tell it where you want to get the information from. You can add controls in. Everything should be wired up. You can reference, if you're connected to a remote database, you can reference tables in that directly. It will pick them up. And again, you can create multiple, I should say charts, multiple line charts for different values of things. You can do data cleaning. And then as we saw, you can do multi-stage analysis just by telling it to do. That's generating, editing code. You can really do anything here. You can kind of do, you get it to fix your queries. You can get it to manipulate those queries. You can get it to change all occurrences of something, change the metric, add order by limits, group by.
Datetime functions.
Datetime functions, right. And then similarly with visuals, we're building it out such that you really shouldn't need to use the UI for very much at all. We're trying to get as much functionality into AI so you could literally just tell it what you want to see. Cool.
That's awesome. Cool. Let's now talk a bit more about, I hope that demo was useful. As you can see, we will keep sharing more and more examples as we go the next few weeks and months as we continue. This is definitely in beta. As you may, as Ollie's been caveating, some of this is about, we've waited because we want to make sure the models are mature enough to give a great experience, but it's not going to be perfect. And we are working on ways, and you'll see as over our roadmap, to make it increasingly robust, so you can be using it again and again, more and more as you go. But it's a thing you'll learn into as you'll get used to it. We're finding that the way we write to it, a bit like Googling, you start to talk to it in a way which is much more applicable as you go, as you get used to it. So it's a bit of a learning curve. We love you to go on it with us, and we'll keep sharing more and more examples and hope that you will also too, as users in the user community, share where it's been really great, what's also feeding back hasn't quite delivered what you wanted to as well. But we're going to keep building into this. It's in beta when we launch it, but we'll keep building into this over and over again as we go for the next few months towards the end of the year and beyond, probably. Yes, thank you, Ollie. The last thing I was going to say, which is a really important thing for, I know, for a lot of your organizations and our customers, is that you can use these AI features with confidence. All the Account AI features are fully GDPR compliant. It is also, most importantly, opt-in. I know that some organizations have just a flat no policy to any AI features. If that's the case, you can turn the features off in your workspace settings. It is not a thing which you're forced to use or have to have any concern over. But most importantly, we've worked really hard to make sure that the partner LLMs we're using are within the sort of normal security requirements we've always been using with you. So any GDPR stuff we've signed with you as a customer, or that you've been looking for us to deliver for you, nothing has changed in those policies. The other thing to say as well is that we're not running queries under the hood on your database. That's why we don't by default have access to your results of cells, is because we're not, primarily because we're trying to avoid an excess database load without your approval. So what we've shown you there are some of the ways we've dealt with that. We'll work on how we can, we'll keep working on the experience, but the goal is to make sure that we're not driving more compute to you unnecessarily. I think that's it, Ollie. Is there anything else worth mentioning about security or what to expect?
Well, the only other thing, which is the third point there, is we're not training models on your data. So don't worry that the things you do in that is going to find its way into a big LLM somewhere that you have no control of. We're not doing that.
Cool. Let's talk about launch then. So I guess people want to get their hands on this. So we have a bit of a apology, I guess, that we will be launching these features you've just seen plus, as you may have noticed, as you eagle-eyed view, a number of other features that you can probably see into the fonts we've already got in this document is not the default font. So there's a little sneak peek there. But that's going to launch soon, fonts-wise. But this AI features are going to be launched for all paid accounts on the 8th of July. And the reason for that delay is to make sure it's GDPR compliant. I don't want to go through the details of it, but this part of that is just to make sure that we are doing things in a GDPR compliant way. So apologies that we didn't quite time it perfectly for this today, but we didn't want to move this meeting when everyone can make it. But the launch is going to be 8th of July. We'll let you know when that goes out. And then for free accounts, we'll be launching this later this summer. I'll be candid with you. We don't quite know the additional cost it's going to pass on to us from using this. We hope you can use it lots and lots and lots. So don't worry about it. But we therefore want to hold it off for free accounts for a bit. And all of this is going to be in there, and certainly no cost to you while in beta or if you have an annual contract with us. So that's it. We've gone to 37 minutes. So thank you for sticking with us. I hope that was worth it. As you can see, there's a lot here. There's a lot to come. This is just the start of a big journey. But I wanted to paint for you both the features that you can see and how much you can improve your productivity and change your workflow already, but also just where we're going to be going with this, which is it's going to be part of every feature that you already use and love in Count will be just enhanced more with AI over the top of it. As you know, Count is already incredibly flexible. So what AI will let you do is just going to hopefully blow all of our minds. So grateful that you're here. Any questions, please shout now. This is certainly not the end of what you'll be hearing on us on AI. And we'd love to get your thoughts or feedback or initial questions that we can feed back in before the 8th. It'd be wonderful. If not, I'm just going to ask her to throw some random things on through AI as a random requests. I'm joking.
Thanks.
Thank you for that question, Anonymous. The question is, might have missed this, but is it possible to use the AI feature from the feature bar to summarize an analysis? I love being able to refine the prompt to summarize according to my preference. It's a powerful value add and also for rubber ducking. Yes, we have. Thank you for asking that question. If other people missed it as well, one of the core capabilities of Count is this explain function, where you can go to any cell, any output, and ask it to give you to verbally in words give you the full blow by blow how it's got to the answer. So making that lineage that's in the canvas even easier to understand and see. It's a great way of doing code reviews as well. If you're checking people's work or getting someone to come and look through some analysis that you've done. Hope that helps answer that question. Anyone else? Can it help with Python cells, Ollie?
It can. Yeah, 100%. It's similar to SQL. Like these models come off the shelf knowing SQL and Python very well. I just personally don't write that much Python, which is why I didn't demo it. But it can change.
You've been the ideal demo candidate. Ollie doesn't like Python.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just don't use it.
But yeah, so I guess the way you answer that is you preferentially ask it to do it in Python versus SQL if you put it in the prompt. Is that sort of how you differentiate? Okay, great. Thanks, Andrew. Anyone else looking for the Q&A section? You go to the weird selection of shapes in the bottom right corner, and there's the Q&A button there. We'll happily stick around if anyone has other questions. Otherwise, feel free to leave. We are certainly going to be sticking around, and we can also chat more in our Slack community if you have not already part of that. For users, it's a really great place to learn more about Count and share best practice. The link is in the chat if you haven't joined yet. Wonderful. Okay, I think there's no more questions right now, but if there are, sorry.
Yeah.
Could it directly summarize a trend in the text output from just the data cell? Can it read a visual and explain the narrative of a visual? Is that what you're asking, Andrew? Ollie, does that question make sense to you?
Well, if it means can it read a visual, the answer is no, because what we didn't say is it doesn't have access to any of your database data, which means that when you select things from the canvas to generate things from, any cells, so any tables or any visuals, they are all the data is removed, it's replaced with dummy data. So just so that, I mean, often we found that if you send, they obviously include a huge amount of information, and it often can overwhelm the model. We haven't yet looked at, there is a workaround, which is you copy it as a PNG, as I did for those few values of region, and then you.
Yeah, so you can take a screenshot of the image and send it.
You can take a screenshot, exactly. But at the moment, it's not hooked up to explain things in the canvas. You need to do so. I'm sure there's some kind of weird workaround where you get it to explain back. It can return text, but it's looking to generate what is there, if that makes sense. It's not looking to explain. So if that's of interest to people, we could, for sure. I mean, as I say, this is already, I hope, a good start, but there's many more things we want to try and do with AI, of which that could be one of them.
Thank you, Andrew. Great questions. We'll keep talking to you. Thank you. Fantastic. We're grateful for you turning up. I hope that was a really interesting session. I bet if anything like we were, can't wait to get our hands on it and experiment. Certainly we will, as I said, there's a journey here to go on with you. So we'd love to get more questions and feedback on it. As you say, the UI is flexible to do a huge amount here. So it's going to get building out. It's going to build out more and more and more as we go. I think for now, I'm going to sign off. But any other questions, you know where we are. We always love speaking to you all. And we love working with you. Thank you.
Thanks.